getting very late, and Joran says he decided to go home because he had school the next day.
We cuddled a while on the beach, just laying there, and till I said about time to walk her back to her hotel.
And what does Natalie say?
She said she didn't want to go back to her hotel and she wanted me to stay there with her because it was her last night and she didn't want to go back to Alabama. She was having too much fun in Aruba.
Was she falling asleep?
Yeah, she actually was. When we were laying there, she closed her eyes on my chest and yeah.
Sleepy or drunk and passing out?
Yeah, no, more sleepy.
Seems a little odd though, doesn't it? Yeah. That she's fallen asleep, but she doesn't want to go back to her hotel?
She wanted me to stay with her there. She didn't want to go back to Alabama.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, about time to walk her back to a hotel. We get some lip compression there. We get a sour taste in the mouth as well. He locks eye contact. So what I would say out of that is we've got a withheld negative idea that he also checks to see whether the interviewer is in agreement or alignment with the impression that he's putting on. Has the interviewer seen behind him what's going on? So again, it's really mounting up for me that there's probably some deception going on here. There's probably a whole other story behind all of this. Let's see what happens. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, Mark, not only when he says back to hotel, there's a lilt at the end. The first time we hear it, there's an ask. There's not a tell. We hear that. He shifted which hand he's illustrating with now. Now I'm starting to go, I'm seeing some clusters of behavior here that make me concerned. When he says, was she sleepy? There's a lifesaver, and you see him jump on it, reach for a straw and say, yes, she actually was. So he's given space there. That's a chance for him then to start what I consider a laundry list of story. And the reason I say that is listen to the lilt and listen to the cadence at which he delivers. And when we say cadence, people have a normal rate of speech when they're talking. If they're teaching, they're going to have a different rate of speech. And when they're asking for something or trying to get something out, they're going to have yet a different cadence and rate of speech from when they're in a bind. He goes, she wanted me to stay with her there. She didn't want to go back to Alabama. There's a story. That's the beginning of something going on. And we see some self-amusement. We see that face starting to rise and light up in that lower face. And Scott, you said earlier, you think Duper's delight is X or Y. I think all Duper's delight is self-amusement with look what I'm getting away with. And I think we're seeing a deviation from his baseline strong enough to make me want to lean in and go, really? Let's talk about all those details that you just left out. Scott, what do you got?
All right. This is where things change. Like you were saying, his cadence speeds up. It's faster than it has been. His voice tone and volume are much stronger than they have been. And his head movement is more relaxed. And I'm with Mark on the where I feel like some of this maybe happened, because to me it looks like he's describing something that actually happened. So he's telling what happened, but he's leaving something out. It's one of the ways you lie by omission. So something was thrown out there that he could grab onto and say, yeah, she was sleepy. That's part of it. So he has something real to hang on to. I think that's why it looks like he's telling the truth there for a lot of it. But still, something is not right here. He's talking slow and he's repeating the questions as part of the answers. Again, in my experience, when I've seen that person is thinking about what they're deconflicting, because they haven't had a lot of time to deconflict. And even though it doesn't seem like very much time when you're doing that, your brain doesn't need a whole lot of time to get in there and start thinking about a lot of stuff. So I think that's when he's correcting stuff and moving stuff around, structuring his answers as he's repeating the question to make that give him more space in there so he can get ready for it. But the only iffy part of me is when he repeats that thing about her not wanting to go back to Alabama, because he's brought that up a couple of times. That's something's not right in there for me with that. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I tend to agree. Right at the beginning is the only actual cluster that I see. So let's just break down this one part that he's talking about cuddling on the beach. First, there's a shoulder shrug, which usually means some form of an unconscious apology. And in this case, he's likely non-verbally saying something to the effect of, sorry, that's all that happened. His hand comes into motion simultaneously during the shrug, and it's a muted movement. So this is common in the Netherlands and in places like the Netherlands to have more subtle and less exaggerated gestures. So I'm thinking culture may play a role here. There's another hand motion that's locked down to the chair again with his left hand, with not much of a baseline string to it. And this is starting to look more and more like self-restraint, which is common in highly skilled liars, which I think there's a chance we're actually dealing with. But it's also common in people who are nervous on camera. To see an example of this, you can go look at our first couple of episodes here on the channel. All four of us, maybe except Mark, are trying to be like statues. You can go watch like our first couple episodes. So finally here, there's an immediate mouth closure after he says going to walk her back to her hotel. And this mouth closure comes with an uncharacteristic facial rigidity, which I would say is likely a sign of even more severe self-restraint. So I'd say this might suggest something happened while they were together on the beach and cuddling. And what he's saying might not have been what's going on.
The eyewitness is you.
It was getting very late, and Yoren says he decided to go home because he had school the next day.
We cuddled a while on the beach, just laying there, and till I said about time to walk her back to her hotel.
And what does Natalie say?
She said she didn't want to go back to her hotel and she wanted me to stay there with her because it was her last night and she didn't want to go back to Alabama. She was having too much fun in Aruba.
Was she falling asleep?
Yeah, she actually was. When we were laying there, she closed her eyes on my chest and yeah.
Sleepy or drunk and passing out?
Yeah, no, more sleepy.
Seems a little odd, though, doesn't it? Yeah. That she's falling asleep, but she doesn't want to go back to her hotel?
She wanted me to stay with her there. She didn't want to go back to Alabama.
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.
I know it.